My husband, Max, drives a limited edition luxury car to pick up his son from kindergarten. His son's teacher immediately added Max to WeChat. She even changed her profile picture to a carefully edited beauty shot. She even changed her WeChat name to Single Dog Longing for Love. I silently watched it all, without saying a word. Then one day, I stumbled upon the chat history between Max and teacher Lily. That's when I learned. She had a crush on my husband. I'm not sure if she'll feel regretful when her dream comes true. My husband and someone else have started a car repair business together. Whenever a fancy car comes in for repairs, he'll drive it out to show off. Until that day, he drove someone else's Maserati to pick up his son from kindergarten. The parents in the class were stunned. Yo-Yo's dad is so awesome. This is a limited edition luxury car. The people who drive these cars are worth over 10 billion. I usually see Yo-Yo's dad trading in his cars. It turns out he doesn't lack money at all. Lily, his son's teacher, eyes sparkled. She took out her phone. She smiled and said to her husband, "Daddy, I have something to tell you about your son in private. Can I add you on WeChat?" Max casually took out his phone. He readily accepted Lily's friend request. I stood nearby, carrying an ordinary canvas bag. I raised my hand to fix my bangs, letting my hair hide the scar on my cheek. That day, my husband was drunk. He went crazy. He grabbed a kitchen knife and hacked at me. There was blood all over the floor. I had to get 12 stitches. He has a serious tendency towards violence. He smokes, drinks, gambles, and does everything. He spends money like water. Every time he gets drunk, he beats me up. My son has even learned from him. If anything goes wrong, he beats me up with his fists and feet. I work 3 jobs every day, but it's still not enough to pay for the basic household expenses. I cried. I resisted. I even tried to escape, but my husband always caught me, and then the violence got worse. Even the police couldn't help. That time he hit me especially hard. He broke 2 of my ribs and my right arm. Afterwards, I was in bandages. With my injured leg, I went to the kitchen to cook for them. I hated him so much. I wanted him to disappear. Time was running out. Max had no choice. He had to borrow 500,000 yuan, and he opened a repair shop with someone else, but he didn't realize. This gave me the perfect opportunity to escape. It was also the beginning of his descent into the abyss. Max was lounging on the sofa. He was chatting animatedly with Lily. I silently put down the fruit. I was about to turn around and walk away. Max suddenly called out to me, "Come here." In the hot summer, I suddenly felt a chill. I turned stiffly around. I didn't know what was going to happen next. As soon as he raised his hand, I was so scared that I quickly covered my head. My heart was racing. I could only stay by his side. I couldn't escape. I couldn't get rid of that feeling of fear. "Come here and rub my legs." I was relieved. Thank goodness he didn't hit me. I moved next to Max. Slowly, I knelt down. I rub his leg with all my strength. Max takes a deep drag on his cigarette. He deliberately blows the smoke in my face. I cough and choke. Tears come to my eyes. Max laughs. Then he shows me the chat history on his phone. I never knew that my son's teacher was so interesting. She tried to seduce me the first time we met. Haha, she's got a much better figure than you. I wonder how she feels. Haha, I look more closely. The photo on the screen is not very pleasant. The main character was my son's teacher. Max reacted too. Later on, I was thrown on the floor like a rag. Max kicked me a few times, frowning, he said, like a dead fish without a single reaction. "Once I've dealt with my son's teacher. I'll divorce you immediately." Max spat in my face, put his pants back on and left, but his words kept ringing in my head. "Divorce you, you mean? If Lily seduces Max, Max will let me go and divorce me." I lie on the ground. I'm dirty all over, but I smile. In that case, I'll let Lily have my husband. In the afternoon, I pick up my son from kindergarten. He suddenly slaps me in the face. He asks angrily, "Why didn't you bring my favorite lollipop? You're a bad woman. No wonder Dad doesn't like you. Why don't you go to hell?" I picked up my son's school bag. I looked up and saw Lily walking towards me. I immediately put on a look of being aggrieved. "Your father is busy at work. He rarely comes home. I'm tired of bringing you up alone. How can you not like your mother?" Lily hurried over. She pulled her son behind her, as if he were her own child. She said to Yao Yu's mother, "The child doesn't like you. You need to think about what's wrong with you first." Lily looked me up and down. With a condescending look, she said, "You look so shabby. It's okay if a woman doesn't look good, but the way you dress. You'd better not go out and affect the cityscape." I was still crying. My eyes were blurred. Yaoyu's father doesn't like me because I'm old and ugly. He doesn't go home. He even goes to the Heijing Hotel to get a room. Now even Yaoyu dislikes me. What should I do? I covered my face with my hands and cried. I saw a hint of a smile on Lily's face through my fingers. My son took Lily's hand. He said coquettishly, "Teacher Lily, I don't want this ugly woman to be my mother. I want you to be my mother." He asked again, "Didn't you say you were going to the amusement park with Dad? Let's go to the hotel to find Dad." Lily stroked her son's head. She smiled and said, "Good boy. Although you have inherited your father's shortcomings, but you've been a big help today." She beamed. After a moment's thought, she nodded. "Then let's go find your father." Her son shouted happily, "That's great. Teacher Lily is now my mother. She's going to take me to the amusement park." They didn't notice at all that I was still standing there. Lily gave me a smug look, took her son's hand and walked off. I hurriedly followed quietly behind to see what would happen. Max was indeed at the Grand View Hotel, but he didn't have a room. He was gambling. When Lily and her son were almost at the hotel, I called Max. "What for?" As soon as the phone connected, Max shouted angrily. He had obviously lost a lot of money. "My son's teacher said she wanted to come and see you. She wants to talk to you in person about something. So I gave her your address. Are you stupid? I don't care about my son." Max then wanted to hang up. I quickly stopped him. "Teacher Lily also seems to have something to tell you. It may be related to that photo earlier." Max became very nervous when he thought about that photo. He has always had a crush on Lily. He definitely wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity. Sure enough, Max hung up after saying "I know." Not long after, he fastened his tie and walked out neatly. "Teacher Lily, do you need something from me?" Lily looked a little embarrassed. Her eyes kept darting to the fake designer watch on Max's wrist. She said, "It's actually not a big deal. It's just that Yo-Yo wants me to be his mother. He doesn't want to go back with your wife, so I had to come to you." Her son tugged at Max's sleeve. He shouted, "Dad, I don't want that ugly woman to be my mother. I want a beautiful mother like Miss Lily. I want you two to stay together." After the son said this, Lily couldn't stop smiling, but she pretended to be serious and said, "Yaoyu, you can't talk like that." Then she shyly glanced at Max. "Max, my dear, the child doesn't know any better, but your wife really isn't responsible. She doesn't care about you or Yaoyu. Yaoyu cries whenever she talks about her mother at kindergarten." Max stared at the beautiful Lily, enthralled. He smiled sweetly and said, "That woman doesn't matter. Since Lily is here, why don't you and I take Yaoyu to the amusement park together? Then we can go home." Max took out the keys to his luxury car. He said, "I'll drive you home tonight." As soon as Lily saw the keys to the luxury car, her eyes lit up. She immediately nodded and agreed. She was afraid that Max would change his mind. Lily and Max each took their son's hand. They walked happily towards the amusement park. It looked like a family. I watched their backs and sneered inwardly, just as I expected. Birds of a feather flock together. They are perfect for each other. I was waiting for the day Lily's dreams would be shattered. But what I didn't expect was that Lily didn't agree to go to a hotel with Max tonight. Instead, she beat around the bush, saying that she hadn't received a gift from a man in a long time. It seems that Lily is quite clever. Not only does she make money, she also keeps Max thinking about her. That night, Lily sends Max a lot of photos again, and Max stares at the screen. He can hardly take his eyes off it. He reaches out to grab my pants. Luckily, I've smeared my underwear with red dye today, and I've also added a few drops of stinky liquid, just in case Max gets carried away. As soon as he gets close to me, he smells the stench. It's so disgusting that he starts to gag. Then he slaps me in the face. "People like you are no different from those scavengers out there. I feel sick just looking at you." Max grumbled as he walked into the bedroom with his phone. After a while, I heard some noise from inside. He was handling things himself. I thought about it for a while. I felt I needed to do something more. The next day, when I took Max's lunch, I casually mentioned, "I heard an Audi came to your shop for maintenance the other day. Someone like you knows about Audis." Max snorted in disdain. I pressed him further. "I heard that it's not cheap to replace an original tire. If you find a cheaper substitute, you'll save money. The owner won't be able to tell anyway. We can make a profit." Max didn't say anything, but his eyes were rolling. I understood. He had heard what I said. 2 days later, I went to pick up my son from school. I saw Lily wearing a necklace of emeralds around her neck. The color was bright. It sparkled in the sunlight. It looked like glass shards on the asphalt. It was dazzling. Ever since she found out my status in the family and Max's attitude towards me, Lily no longer tried to hide it. She often flaunted it in front of me, saying that she was the one Max cared about the most. Sigh, some people, they are born like weeds by the toilet. They are only worthy of being stepped on. She touched the necklace around her neck. With a smug look on her face, she said, "Men don't love weeds. They like wildflowers in the mountains. They're beautiful and sensible." I smiled and said to Lily, "But I'm still Mrs. Max. As long as I'm here, you can only be a wildflower that can't enter the house." Lily immediately flew into a rage. Her pretty face crumpled in anger. It looked a bit hideous. "Max's elder brother will marry me into the family sooner or later. I'll just wait for the day you get thrown out. I'll see how miserable you are." "Great. I can't wait." I suppressed a smile. I continued to provoke Lily. "I'll wait and see, but I think Max might get bored. Maybe someone will get dumped first." I finished and turned to leave. Lily stood there, furious, stamping her feet. That night, Max and Lily went to a hotel and checked in. For the next 3 days, Max didn't go home and Lily didn't go to school. I had long ago bugged Max's phone. I heard Lily ask him for a divorce, but he refused. I sneered. Max would never divorce me. He couldn't find a woman as easy to control as me. I could work 3 jobs, support the family. Lily couldn't do what I did. Max wouldn't divorce. Men always separate their emotions from their desires. He knew I provided financial support, and Lily can satisfy his physical needs. Lily's demands are getting more and more. She asked Max for a lot of expensive jewelry. At first, Max secretly made a little profit in the shop, just enough for him and Lily to spend. Later, this little money was no longer enough, I realized. Here's my chance. I can help Max make money if Lily can also help. Wouldn't that be even better? I secretly put a small card in Max's clothes pocket. It said, "Looking for pretty hostess," and my biggest characteristic is that I'm not pretty. Recently, business at Max's restaurant has been bad. His temper has grown worse and worse. One day, the food I had just cooked was knocked over by him. He reached into his pocket and took the card. He didn't think much about where the card came from. He just looked up and down at me. That night, he took me to the hotel, but the manager wouldn't let me in. The manager spoke gently, saying that the scar on my face might scare customers. He suggested that we go home first to take care of it. When we got home, Max had been drinking. His emotions were getting more and more agitated. When he saw the scar on my face, he became even more angry. He picked up a bench and was about to throw it at me. "Wait," I called out to Max. "Although I wasn't hired, my son's teacher is young and beautiful. She will definitely succeed. Maybe she will be noticed by a generous customer. She can even earn some tips. Don't be ridiculous. Lily has a proper job. She wouldn't want to work in a hotel as a hostess." I asked cautiously. If she lost her job, her reputation would be ruined. What would happen then? Max looked puzzled. He asked me, "What do you mean I arranged my bangs with my hand?" I said, "Send me a copy of your chat with Lily. I'll go and talk to their supervisor." I suppressed my discomfort. I gently touched Max's hand. "When this gets out, she'll definitely get scolded by her parents. The school will expel her too. At that point, no school will dare to hire her. Let's take this opportunity to find her a job. She'll definitely be grateful to you." Max suddenly slapped his head. He suddenly realized, yes, why didn't I think of that? A hostess makes much more money than a kindergarten teacher. "Honey, I've never forgotten all the things you've done for this family." Max looked at me with what he thought were affectionate eyes. I clenched my fists. My fingernails dug into the palm of my hands. This was the only way I could keep my face calm. I didn't let him see that I wanted to go down with him. "No problem. I'll go print out your conversation right now, early the next morning." I took the conversation to Lily's school principal. At the same time, I posted it online. Very quickly, Lily became the target of everyone's criticism. Everyone pointed fingers at her. Some people said, "I can see that this teacher looks like a vixen. She's really gone to seduce someone else's husband. What a shame. You must not know. At the beginning of the school year, she was only concerned about what kind of car other people drove and what kind of bag they carried. Her mind was not on the job. This kind of person is unreliable. What kind of good student can be taught by such a teacher? Let her go." Parents jointly wrote a letter to the Education Bureau to report it. The school had no choice and had to let Lily go. As I had expected, no school wanted to hire Lily. Lily thus lost her job. At this time, Max seized the opportunity and offered to introduce her to a well-paid job. He used a more ruthless method. He first got Lily drunk and then left her with 2 homeless people. When she sobered up, he stood on the moral high ground and accused her. Lily cried and begged Max not to leave her. Max agreed, on the condition that Lily went to a hotel to work as a hostess. I saw Lily had to wear a miniskirt. I clenched my fists tightly. Max had done this to me before. He took advantage of me when I was drunk and left me with a bunch of bad people. When I woke up, he scolded me instead. Then he used mental control on me. That was it. I completely lost contact with my family. I lived under Max's control, even before my father died. I didn't even have the courage to go back and see him. I've been living a confused life, constantly denying myself, feeling like I'm worthless. I even tried to kill myself several times. Until one day, Max got drunk, and in his drunken state, he bragged to me about his plans. At that moment, for the first time, I had the idea of going down with Max. I hate him. I really hate Max to the bone. I want him to pay for what he's done. It's more unbearable for him to be alive than dead. Lily is working hard to earn money here, but Max is gambling more and more over there. It's like a bottomless pit. It can never be filled. Lily is pressuring Max to divorce her every day, but Max just won't give up someone who can earn money like me. I made up my mind. I took out all the money I had saved up secretly. I asked someone to get a diagnosis of terminal stomach cancer from the hospital. The diagnosis said, I can only live for another month at most. I took the diagnosis and fell to my knees in front of Max in tears. I begged him not to leave me. I begged him to save me. But Max kicked my hand away in disgust. He shouted at me, You unlucky bastard. You're dying and you still want to spend my money. What bad luck. Go away. No, my dear, help me. I still have to earn money to support my family. You're dying. And you're still trying to drag me down. Don't even think about spending my money, no way. Get out of here. Max kicked me again. I covered my chest. My tears wouldn't stop. I told him, We're not divorced yet. Even if I die, I'll still be your wife. Max suddenly understood. He said, You've reminded me. Tomorrow we'll go through the divorce formalities. You'd better pack your things and leave. What bad luck. Luckily, Lily can earn money. Otherwise, I'll sell you for scrap. Divorce, divorce, divorce. I heard the word. I couldn't help crying. I could finally get rid of Max. My son and all his debts were no longer my problem. I wanted to go home. I cried so hard. Max found it disgusting. He threw me out of the house. He never wanted to see me again. The next day, we went through the divorce formalities. The moment I received the divorce certificate, I couldn't help covering my mouth and crying. My years of marriage felt like a dream. I was about to start a new life. I didn't take anything from home. I only wore worn-out clothes. I found a job as a waitress in a restaurant on the outskirts of town. I wanted revenge. I wanted to see Max and Lily's reputation destroyed with my own eyes. Live a life of misery. Only in this way can I make up for the suffering I have endured in these years of hell. Lily soon married Max and got a marriage certificate. She entered the deepest part of the hell I had experienced. After the wedding, Lily realized that Max not only had nothing, but was also in debt. She cried and demanded a divorce, just like she had done to me before. Max began to subject Lily to endless domestic violence and oppression. Lily's appearance also rapidly aged. She looked 10 years older. White hair had appeared on the sides of her head. Max used inferior parts to replace good ones when repairing cars. When this was discovered, the car owner and his partner took him to court. The court ordered him to pay 500,000 yuan in compensation. He also had gambling debts to pay. The family's financial situation continued to worsen. They had to move to an old, small house in the urban village. In an emergency, Max forced Lily to receive guests. She accepted whoever came. In that dilapidated rented house, Lily's voice gradually faded. Finally, she was like a lifeless doll, lying quietly, surrounded by all kinds of men. Lily finally couldn't hold back. After asking around, she found me as soon as she saw me. She almost rushed up and strangled me. She scolded, You bitch. Max doesn't have any money at all. You tricked me into marrying him, and you made me so miserable. I smiled at her. You were the one who provoked Max in the first place. Right, you Lily was at a loss for words. I continued, You slept with him. You came after me. You got him to divorce me. And now you're coming to me. Isn't that like slapping yourself in the face? Lily said angrily. Max drives a fancy car that doesn't belong to him. You two work together to ruin my job. And you force me to serve drinks. You won't compensate me. I'm going to take you to court. Lily expertly lit a cigarette. She takes a deep drag and slowly exhales. The smoke swirls around her. For a moment, it hides her face. Then she continues. Besides, you still have Yo-Yo. He's your own flesh and blood. How can you just abandon him? At night, he cries out for his mommy in his sleep. Lily is triumphant. She feels she has me over a barrel. She raises an eyebrow and continues. Now, you come back with me. Get back together with Max. I'll let you keep your son. Otherwise, pouring boiling water over a child is a very cruel thing to do. Yaoyu, I carried you for 10 months. I gave birth to you with all my strength. I clenched my fists. My fingernails dug deep into my flesh. The pain went right to the bone. When I looked up, I ignored the fine sweat on my forehead. My eyes were firm and clear. I'll go back with you. I'll help you divorce Max, but I'll never remarry him. Lily heard my concession. Her face immediately revealed an unmistakable look of surprise. She stood up excitedly. Okay, as long as it can separate me from Max. Whatever you say. Then wait a minute. I'll go to the bedroom to tidy up. I quickly packed a few changes of clothes. Then I asked my boss for a few days off. Told him there was something at home. I'll be back after I'm done. My boss looked at me, and then at Lily, who was smoking next to me. He didn't say anything. He just patted me on the shoulder and let out a deep sigh. I was back in the place where I had lived for more than 10 years. Everything was both familiar and strange. As soon as I entered the house, I could smell an unpleasant odor. Max was wearing only his underwear. He was lying on the sofa in a lazy position. There were empty wine bottles all over the floor. When Lily and I entered the house, he was still lying on the sofa. He leisurely stared at me. His eyes were as sharp as a wolf's, as if he were going to pounce at any moment. I looked around. I saw my son Yaoyu looking for food next to the rubbish bin. The rubbish bin stank. He was crouching there. He had lost a lot of weight. He looked more like Max. I hurried over, crouched next to him. Yaoyu. I gently stroked his head, just like when I used to rock him to sleep as a child. Mummy's back. Yaoyu slowly raised his head. When he saw it was me, an expression of disgust immediately appeared on his face. He didn't hide it. She pushed me to the ground and said, "You ugly thing. Why did you come back? It's all your fault. Teacher Lily lost her job and Dad got beaten up by the debt collectors. You're a jinx. Why don't you just die?" Hearing my own son slinging abuse at me like that, even if I'm strong, I couldn't help but cry. Yaoyu, Mum's going to ask you one last time. Is this what your father and them think, or your own? My son lunged at me with clenched fists. He hit me hard on the bridge of the nose, just like Max had done. He shouted, "You're just a miserable old woman. A jinx. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been teased by the kids at kindergarten. I'll kill you." I half lay on the ground. My wrist hurt from the fall. It was throbbing. I couldn't fight back at all. My son was playing a game. Suddenly, I was lifted up by a pair of rough hands. I looked up. Max was standing in front of me, reeking of alcohol. He grabbed my shirt and pulled me close. Then he slapped me hard twice. HMPH, you. Why didn't you keep running? You even forged a certificate saying you had a terminal illness. You wanted a divorce. Let me tell you, don't even think about it. As long as you're alive, you're mine even after you die. You must earn money for me to spend. Otherwise, I won't let you go. Max picked up the fruit knife on the table. He said viciously, "I'll break your legs. See where you can run, wait." My mouth was bleeding. I quickly stopped him. Outside, the siren sounded. The sound was loud and shocking. I coughed up a mouthful of blood with difficulty. I took out the mobile phone that had been recording from my bag. How could I not guard against the two of you? If I don't put you in jail, I will never feel at ease in my life. But I looked back at my son. I turned my head in disappointment. I thought my son finally understood that he was wrong. He truly had come to his senses, but I still underestimated Max's genes and my son's nature. I looked coldly at the person in front of me and said, "Aren't you being chased by debt collectors? I'll take you to a better place. You can spend the rest of your life in prison." Lily backed away in panic, mumbling, No, I don't want to go to prison. I'm still young." Her face suddenly turned pale. Her eyes were unfocused. She fumbled around in her bag, looking for something. I understand. She's fallen prey to drugs. When she came to see me, I sensed that she was up to no good. She's conspiring with Max and planned to drag me down with them. A woman with Lily's self-esteem will not easily let go once she realizes she has been used and deceived. If she falls into the mud, she will definitely drag everyone down with her. We will all get dirty together. Sooner or later, Max will find out that I forged the medical diagnosis. Instead of waiting for him to come after me with a knife, I might as well strike first. I turned the passive into the active. When I went into the room to pack, I called the police. I also brought a mobile phone with a good camera. I wanted to expose Max and Lily's evil deeds, so they could be punished as they deserved. Max was sentenced to 20 years in prison for multiple counts of intentional injury and extortion. Lily was sentenced to 1 year in prison for involvement in prostitution. After serving her sentence, she had to go to a drug rehabilitation center. Yaoyu also refused to go with me. She was sent to a welfare institution. Later, because of a fight, and was sent to a juvenile detention center. I carried my luggage and started the journey home. 10 years passed in a flash. It seemed like just a moment. Time passed slowly, so slowly that I gradually grew old. My character became tough. After I returned home, I learned that my parents had passed away because they missed me too much and worried too much. I bowed 3 times in front of their graves. Then I went home to tidy up the yard. He also had a puppy. Spring came. The weather was warm. The flowers bloomed. I basked in the sun in the yard with the puppy. I felt very comfortable. The wind was not too strong. The sunshine was just right. I rejected all the matchmakers who came to see me. After what happened with Max, I no longer trusted any man. I felt that spending the rest of my life in my hometown was pretty good. The last time I heard from Max was when Yaoyu got out of juvenile detention. He asked around about me. When he came to my house to look for me, I was in the kitchen making dough balls for the dog. The dog barked at the front door. I hurried outside. I saw Yaoyu standing in the doorway with a package. He stared at me with those eyes that looked so much like Max's. It made my heart race. "Mom," I shook my head at him. I said, "I don't have any children. You've got the wrong person." I reached out to close the door, but Yaoyu suddenly knelt in front of me. His eyes were red and swollen. Dad got into a fight in prison. He got hurt on the head. Aunt Lily got into drugs again after she got sober. She got arrested again. "You're all I have left." "Mom," I paused. I took 2 buns from the kitchen. I put them in front of Yaoyu. "The world is so big. I just want to live in the moment. Take care of yourself." After saying that, I closed the door. The past is gone. It's wise to let go of the past. I just want to live each day to the fullest. Live in the moment. The dog seems to sense my low mood. It comes over to me. It gently rubs its furry head against my pant leg. I smile. I turn around and go back to the kitchen. Behind me, a little white dog. Me and the dog under the warm sun. We walk slowly together. There's still a long time ahead. There's no need to rush.